Welcome to the Treatise Toolbox tutorial, Lesson 2, Selecting Sets of Lines, Trials, and Phenotypes. In this lesson, you will be shown how to put together sets of germplasm lines and phenotype data. These data can then be coupled with genotype data for association mapping. The lesson will use examples from T3 barley, found at treatisetoolbox.org/barley, and T3 wheat at treatisetoolbox.org/wheat. In Lesson 1 of this tutorial series, I demonstrated how to select lines in T3 by genetic properties, measured phenotypes, allele haplotypes, as a member of a trial or a user-defined panel. In the first example, I want to build a data set to do association mapping with durum wheats. I know that these were genotyped as a group, so I can use the Select Lines by Genotype experiment option. Here I'm selecting the USDA's genotyping lab in Fargo, North Dakota. T3 then populates a table with years of data production from that facility held in T3. I'll select all of the years, and in doing so, a third table is populated with the genotyping experiments done in Fargo. So by scrolling, you can see that there are many wheat genotype experiments available, but I found the NSGC wheat 9K_4X datasets, which genotyped all of the tetraploid germplasm lines in the cap core. All of the lines in that trial are selected by default, but users can fine-tune this list. Save the selection and notice that the left menu bar now reflects the 546 lines in the current selections header. Next, we'll look for phenotype data by selecting Traits and Trials from the Select menu tab. Traits can be selected from among broad categories, including agronomic, disease, morphological, and quality. To narrow the results of available trials to just those involving our 546 selected durum lines, click the bottom next to the Show Only Traits and Trials for Currently Selected Lines option. Here I've selected the agronomic category, which populates a new table of traits measured for these lines. I'll select the 1,000 kernel weight as the first trait, and this populates a new table with trials. When more than one trial is selected, T3 then draws a table to report the number of lines measured for the trait of interest in each trial. Save the phenotype selection and notice that the current selections menu now reflects the selected traits and trials. Although this will be covered in greater detail in later lessons, briefly, to download phenotype data, it must be coupled with genotype data. T3 will ask you to select the genetic map set that best represents the marker data available for the selected lines. The default parameters are set to exclude lines that are missing data. Notice that the default settings will eliminate 5 lines from the results. To clear your slate and begin a new data set, simply click the Select tab, clear current selections, and click the button on that page. And then notice that the current selection menu will return to 0 lines, traits or trials, and all markers are automatically selected by default. The Selection Wizard makes creating data sets easy. So from this tool, users can start from different data types. So if you want to begin with a set of lines, T3 will deliver an error if no lines are in the selection queue, but it will provide a link to create line selections by properties. So in this example, I'll select the Hard Winter Wheat Association Mapping panel and then save those 299 lines to my buffer. Then when I return to the wizard and select lines as the launching point, the trials are then populated next. Users can select between trials containing all lines or those containing any of the lines. Once a user selects the trials, the traits populate an additional table and users can select any or all of the measured traits. The next example, we use T3 barley to show the wizard launching from the location selection using the 2 locations described in Huntley, Montana. Users then select trial years, trials, traits, and finally the lines that were involved will populate the last table. Save that selection and notice that the left menu reflects the save. In the final example, trait category is used to launch the wizard. Here the trait senescence score was selected, and notice that there are 7 traits with that descriptor. The T1 through T7 in the trait name indicated time points during a growing season for this measurement. Selecting the traits populates trials, and as we saw above, selecting the trials populates the lines table. Save the selection to place these data in the T3 buffer for your user session. This concludes Lesson 2 of the Tridicy Toolbox tutorial. For comments and suggestions, please use the Contact Us tab at T3 Wheat or T3 Barley.